Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Computing Expo. I want to give you a quick introduction to the Computing Directorate, which might help you make some choices as you navigate through the booths and materials arrayed before you over the next several hours. This is Bruce Hendrickson, the Associate Director for Computing. So Livermore, as you probably know, has been at the forefront of computing since our very founding. The lab was founded in 1952. Our first piece of large scientific equipment was a UNIVAC 1 computer. The founders of the laboratory intentionally selected computing as one way to differentiate themselves from Los Alamos. Throughout the decades, we've often had the world's fastest computer, and if not, we were always very close. We also had a rich ecosystem of system software and support and algorithms and mathematics that underlay all of our computing capabilities. You can see through this timeline that chain is unbroken of leadership platforms and novel applications and new algorithmic ideas, and that continues to the present day. As I mentioned, the UNIVAC 1 was the very first piece of major scientific equipment at the laboratory, and in 1953, Livermore Computing was created to actually run the computer. Livermore Computing is, of course, still the organization that runs our largest computers. The picture on the right there is Sid Fernbach. He was the founding leader of computing at the laboratory. He led the computation organization from 1952 until 1976. Here are a few other important dates in the history of computing at the laboratory. In 1974, the National Magnetic Fusion Energy Computing Center stood up at Livermore. That was the precursor to NERSC. It actually became NERSC over time before it migrated to Berkeley. It was the forerunner for and the model of Office of Science Computing user facilities that now exist at Berkeley, at Oak Ridge, and at Argonne. So who knew that Livermore was the first Office of Science computing facility, but we were. In 1996 was a big year. The ASCII program started. Also in that year, NERSC, DOE made this decision to move NERSC to Berkeley. And in part, in response to both of those activities, CASC, or Center for Advanced Scientific Computing, was created. Steve Ashby stood that up to fill a bit of the vacuum left behind by the departure of NERSC and to further enhance our computing expertise as the ASCII program was getting underway. Just a few years ago in 2015, the laboratory consolidated all of the information technology organizations into COMP. And so they now have a common home, and those workers all reside within the computing organization. And then it may sound minor compared to all those big things, but just last year we renamed the directorate from computation, which is what it's been known since 1952, to computing. And that was to reflect the broadening of the roles for computing at the laboratory. We no longer just focus on modeling and simulation. We do a vast amount of data science and machine learning and operating systems and runtime systems and IT, and computing was just a more accurate and comprehensive and inclusive word. This is the structure of the Computing Directorate. The boxes right under me are those of the key thought leaders in the organization. The 9 boxes below those are of the 9 divisions within computing. And I like to think of them in 3 categories. I'll talk about these in turn. They're the mission organizations that directly interface with the primary mission organizations of the laboratory. They're capability organizations that underpin all of the things that we do and connect to all of the missions of the lab. And then there are 4 IT divisions that house the personnel that support the IT function of the laboratory. The IT divisions have around 500 technical staff, and they do all the things related to IT. They're keeping a lab afloat in our work from home posture so that they sustain, support, and advance what truly is the lab's most essential infrastructure these days. You all know them through LibIT, but there's actually a lot more there. And these activities, these people, of course, connect to every nook and cranny of the laboratory because everybody uses IT. But what I want to emphasize for this purpose is that they can be more than just an essential service, the IT service. They also can be a key enabler, differentiator for programs and activities at the laboratory. We're seeing that more and more. Among the capabilities that they can provide for the laboratory are networking, telecoms and video conferencing, data center operations, and then activities like authentication and identity management. They have deep expertise in cloud computing and computer security. Of course, enormous experience and expertise in software development and software engineering. They engage closely with the vendor ecosystem in the IT space. And of course, they're experts in user and system support. To the extent that any of those capabilities could be relevant to you in your program space, please reach out, engage with these people, and try and find partnerships. That's what this expo is all about. Our three program-facing divisions are ASQ, which connects with the WCI program, GSCAD, which connects with global security, and NIFC, which of course connects with NIF and photon science. And so each of these divisions is focused predominantly, almost exclusively, on the programs in these respective program areas. In total, there are about 400 technical staff, a little bit more, and they of course provide key computing expertise to the principal programs of the laboratory. But more than that, they also provide this reach back to the entire computing ecosystem within COMP, so they can connect back to these capability directors that I alluded to earlier. One of their key roles is not just supporting the missions of the laboratory right now, but anticipating future computing technologies that could impact programs, and helping make sure programs take advantage of them and are proactive in that regard. They provide, of course, in collection, one of the lab's key differentiators. Capabilities and expertise of these divisions include data science and data management, machine learning, systems analysis, again, software engineering, high-performance computing. There's a lot of expertise in how to use machines like Sierra and like El Capitan. Runtime and operating systems, high-performance computing. All of these are capabilities that we have and are eager to provide to you and to find new applications for to support the missions in the laboratory. Then the final two divisions are those that I referred to as capability divisions. They're Livermore Computing and CASC. And they provide a unique, truly world-leading expertise for the laboratory in mathematics, computer science, high-performance computing, and related areas. So these organizations between them have about 300 technical staff, and they provide a number of key services for the laboratory. Livermore Computing procures, runs, and supports an unmatched, truly unmatched collection of HPC systems. These organizations drive advances in simulation, data science, and machine learning for all lab programs. They engage with the external community, particularly the research community, to make sure that we're on top of emerging ideas and know what's coming down the pipe for the lab. And of course, they provide state-of-the-art expertise for the laboratory in consulting and partnering and collaborating and researching together, while also anticipating what's coming ahead so that we're ready for it. Capabilities and expertise in these two organizations include, of course, mathematics and algorithms, research activities in many, many different areas of computing, strong external relationships and therefore awareness, deep ties with computing vendors, this ability to look over the horizon to know what's coming out in a few years. Of course, HPC procurement, administration, and support, system software for HPC, and more. Scalable visualization and data management. All of these are core capabilities where the laboratory is among the very best in the world, if not the very best in the world. And so these capabilities in particular can differentiate us relative to just about any other organization that we might be competing with for sponsored dollars. I want to reassure you by sharing a little bit about the COMP strategy. The COMP strategy is organized around 4 thrust areas. 2 of them that are highlighted in red here are specifically around engagement with mission organizations to support the mission, whatever that takes, delivering exceptional responsive solutions and insights that meet your needs today and anticipate your needs tomorrow, and then create new directions. So our goal with that strategic thrust is to partner with you to help define new opportunities and new directions for the laboratory where computing can provide new avenues for solving national problems and therefore create new business opportunities in the laboratory. So this whole issue of partnering and supporting is foundational to who we are. And then finally, just to share with you some of the things that I think about, some of the things that keep me up at night. Our overarching mission is to deliver to the lab's programs today and for the future. There are a number of technical priorities that are related to challenges that are going on in the broader world. Certainly standing up El Capitan successfully is at the top of that list. Supporting the development and adoption of data-centric computing, transforming IT into a differentiating enabler for the laboratory, which I mentioned earlier. Computers are changing, and we need to get ready for that. We need to get ready for a post-Moore, post-von Neumann world. And then a broader challenge of how to sustain and protect the enormous investment that the laboratory has made in software. Those are all technical priorities that are at the forefront of our thinking. And then, of course, as a line organization, as a discipline organization, we worry a lot about workforce and have a number of concerns and activities related to supporting our workforce, whether it be making sure our group leaders are sufficiently well funded to provide the kind of support that our staff expect, addressing space problems, which I guess in the COVID era don't seem as pressing, but they seem pretty pressing when we're back on campus. Recruiting and retaining, of course, is a never-ending challenge in a very competitive marketplace. Like all of you, we're working to build a more inclusive culture and a more diverse workplace. And then, of course, things like leadership development, succession plan. Finally, we're trying to embrace agility. Our technology base is changing all the time, and national security is changing as well. So agility is essential for our success and for the lab's success. So enjoy the rest of the expo and your exploration of our capabilities and technologies. And we look forward to further discussions and opportunities to partner with you and support you.